Welcome to Whitman Partners Road Warriors Recognition Awards Series. We're talking to interim directors of surgical services, SPD directors, and or educators about their unique experiences leading departments on a temporary basis. And today we have Jerry Thomas, who is currently the regional director covering the Southeast portion of one of the largest healthcare systems in our country. Welcome, Jerry.
Thank you.
And
Thank you.
Thank you for agreeing to this interview. So we'll just jump right into it. How do you distinguish yourself during an interview for an interim assignment to help you in the job?
In the past, what I typically would do, um, the first thing whenever when key leadership individuals are contacting me, um, if they don't realize this is the number one revenue generator of the hospital, then they should. That's the first thing, which is why that I focus on the business aspect of it. And so having the MBA background, that enables me to drive that home to the key marketing and key leadership peoples within the executive suite. And that because of that background, and it's a unique opportunity for me as having a bachelor's in science and having that RN background, as well as having the MBA as a business focus. It puts me in the driver's seat many times, and has in the past, to at least get their attention.
And what questions do you always ask for yourself to help you decide to accept an assignment?
Sure. One of the things that it's got to be a dialogue. It's got to be a collaborative partnership between me and the person bringing me on in the past. And so the first question is, what do you want me to do? What are you looking for? What's your main um, what is your main focus that really needs attention? And that helps drive. In the past, it has helped drive my decisions.
Um, Usually interims are walking into a situation that's pretty much a powder keg. So
Oh, not the case. Oh yeah.
how do you kind of quickly calm everyone's fears, calm everyone's down, bring down the temperature? Because usually it's based off of previous experiences, previous leadership that they've been burned essentially. So how do you
It,
handle that?
yeah, it is. And, it depends. It really depends on what exactly they want you to do. And you are so spot on with it being a powder keg. And I can think of one instance where I actually was brought in because, quote, I had the reputation of being a hired gun. That can be good and bad. And so it truly was the most sensitive location I have ever walked into. And quite, I mean, without divulging place names or anything like that, basically what the CEO wanted me to do was come in. First of all, you had a physician with a with a very massive um, explosion of a temper. And so, yeah, okay, I've seen that, maybe not. But then the other thing was that he felt like there was just something wrong with the department. So I walk in, yeah, the inmates are running the asylum. Number one, number two, yes, the physician did have an explosive temper, but what it was, which kind of goes into another area here, but basically you just can't walk in and say, okay, I'm going to support you. You can, and one of the things that really caught my attention was, all right, it's either this guy is unstable or this individual has something going on outside the workplace. And basically, in the nutshell, what was going on, he was being sabotaged in the OR. And so that took assessing that situation and going back to administration and saying, look, this is not the problem. And we caught the person. There's some creative ways to do that. And we caught the person on a secret camera in the main sterile corridor. And that person was relieved of their duties. And so then uh, really I came in and saved a physician's livelihood. So lots of times you can't walk into a situation. It is explosive and you got to deal with it in a calming effect. And so what he said was, yeah, I'm an angel that walked in. I walked in calmly with a baseball bat. So, and that's really what kind of happens sometimes. You have to be approachable, but you're watching everything. You don't make snap decisions unless it's life or limb.
That's a good way to put it. How do you gain confidence? So, like, once everyone's calm and you're like, I'm here to help, how do you gain the confidence of the staff?
Primarily, um, I by nature am quiet. I by nature um, sometimes, and my kids' friends were so scared of me because they felt like I was just this mean guy who just had that business face all the time. So I've tried to work on that over the years. But you just go in. Yeah, I can be friendly, but I'm also going to hold everyone accountable. I'm going to listen. I'm not going to take sides. I'm going to take that nursing process, the assessment, the diagnosis, the implementation. You make a plan, implement, and evaluate. That's what I'm doing in my full-time position as well as my in the past in interim leadership. It has been a time where, yeah, I'm approachable. The door is always open. I will listen, and the key is follow up. I look for those little small wins where, as you said earlier, people have been burned. What I look for are those little small wins to where, wow, this guy is going to help us, and it works, and it works.
Yeah, yeah. So, what challenge do you repeatedly see when you walk into a department that negatively impacts revenue?
Yeah, so I have a saying. It's called "Same Song, Different Verse." So primarily, they're not capturing all the charges. One of the questions that I ask, are you looking at your daily revenue? Are you reconciling those charges from the previous day? How do you know that you're picking up everything? That's one part of it. Lots of time, if you're in a facility that is all manual, it's paper, and there's still a lot of them out there, believe it or not. And lots of times the charge master may not be correct. The preference cards may not be correct. Are we picking up everything that we're supposed to? And you got to work with the finance people on this to make sure that you are capturing everything that you can. Um, and on the revenue, I mean, the revenue side of it, there's really only two ways of really that you as an individual in a leadership position has control of is administrative cost, your staffing overhead, and the materials part of that. You have control of. Those are really the only two parts of that. So it's important to manage those pieces of it. And that means dealing with daily productivity, charges, um, making sure you're getting the best price, the best bang for your buck, and encouraging your surgeons to um, get let's all get on the same page and utilize the same products and not venture out and be a maverick here and cost the hospital money. So, and in this time and day, it's important.
Hmm. So, your first day on the job, what is your checklist? What do you want to accomplish that first day?
Yeah. So gaining, it's all about the relationship. Um, yeah, I was the hired gun, if you will. But you also have to establish the relationships and listen to people because, as Quint Studer, I read something just recently that he had posted on LinkedIn. And he talked about how um, you, you know, when your flashlight goes dim or loses its power, you don't throw it away. You change the batteries. And you do that with people too. You don't throw the people away. You change their batteries according to what they are, double A's, triple A's, or C or a D. And all of those have acronyms that will take time. I won't go into it. But all of those people, the staff, fit into one of those categories. And if they don't, then sometime you just need to sit there and shine your own light on them. And when I read that, I thought, that is such a great way to um, to make yourself known and available to individuals. And that's how and really that's how I've always operated. He just kind of published it in a way that helps me explain it because as I said earlier, it's all about the relationship, building it with the staff and building it with the physicians.
That makes sense. You can't really do your job if the relationships are broken down or non-existent.
No, exactly. And a step further in that is I was certified lean instructor. I did this through a consulting company that was based with Toyota Healthcare. They build cars, and it's an awesome way to do this. But one of the things that when you're doing a Kaizen event, it's best to get your naysayers in there because they're the ones that are going to help you drive change in an environment. Well, the same holds true for an interim going into or a full timer going in. It doesn't matter if you're interim or full time going into an environment. You've got to have um, relationships built, and you've got to get their trust, and you got to get them. You guide them along, making them think it's their idea the whole time of where you want to go.
So interims typically skew, seasoned professionally. Have you ever experienced ageism where people made assumptions about you because of your age or because you're an interim? Oh, you hop around so much. Like, what's your experience in that realm?
So have I ever actually experienced it from a standpoint of interim position? No. Full time? Yeah, a lot. And there was a reason why I traveled a lot, and primarily, in the nutshell, my wife and I made the decision because where I live, just there wasn't anything available, and not I aspired to do more with my career. And so we made a decision early on to keep our kids um, stay in a stable environment, not move them around. So that meant that I had to travel a lot. And so with that, yeah, whenever I would look at a full time position, oh no, you've traveled around too much. And well, part of that issue, even with those individuals in today's market, they're traveling around and hopping more than I am. Um, because the positions are open so much across the country, and the lure sometimes of an attractive offer will take them away in a New York minute. And so it just yeah, I have faced that from time to time. Yeah, it was frustrating, but um, you get what you pay for, and especially when someone said, the problem is, what happens after you fix the problems? Oh, the problems are always there. They never go away. I about the time you have got everything where you think it's together, then all of a sudden, boom, something happens. Um, New project comes along, or you've had some staff members resign, move on, retire, all the above, and now you've got new ones coming in, and the problems start over. So it's a never ending battle. Of There's always, as I said earlier, same song, different verse.
That makes sense. I would add COVID too. No one was anticipating that.
No, and that's that's a what we've learned with COVID is teleconferencing, just like what we're doing today. Um, yeah, I get to do that some with what I do now in my current role, but I've also got to be there on site because again, you got to establish the relationship, and it's hard to do over internet. You can establish some, but that trust factor, you just can't quite get there, or you can't verify some of the information that you're receiving. So you got to establish the relationships, verify what you're doing, and travel out there, which is what I have to do with my hospitals. But yeah, that's something that COVID has really done is enabled us to be teleconferencing like this.
Yeah, and that moves into my next question. What have you learned during the pandemic that changed the way you lead, changed the way you viewed uh, how to deal with your staff, like anything that kind of helped you grow, I guess, professionally?
Yeah, it's I won't belittle the teleconferencing part, but one of the things that you always have to hold people accountable for is their tardiness and attendance, time and attendance, and all of that. That's kind of taken a back. I mean, I'm not going to say it's totally taken a back seat because um, COVID has dealt us a blow with that. And we it's hard to say, okay, you've missed 3 times here, or you've gone against policy. Can't do that anymore because of COVID. And so we have to suck it up, move on, and work with the individuals there. And you know that goes, again. I mean, we still have to hold everybody accountable because you've got teammates here that are not dying, but I mean, they're just struggling because of short staffing issues that has caused an impact in all facilities across the country. So, yeah, we got to work with those who are sick. And hey, I hope you get better. Let me know how I can help you. Yeah, it's changed how I've looked at and viewed things. And I've spoken to some of my counterparts across the country that still do interim work, and it's changed how they manage on a day-to-day basis.
Here's a fun question. Which airport has the best food, in your opinion?
Oh my gosh. Well, I'm partial to Dallas just because I'm a Texas boy, but Dallas DFW has great food. However, you being located up at PDX in Portland, when I used to fly in and out of there years ago, there was a sandwich shop in there. They made their own bread, homemade bread. Oh my gosh. But then they had the best homemade chicken salad. And as a road warrior, as someone who travels weekly, um, first class food is not what all it is kicked up to be anymore. So I used to grab sandwiches out of Portland every week when I was flying in and out of there because it was wonderful. Miami has great food. Um, I'm partial to the Cuban culture. I love their food. I love their Cuban coffee, and I drink decaf, and even the decaf will put me on the ceiling. It's great coffee, but yeah, it's those are my probably I would say my 3 favorite uh, places of grabbing food whenever I can.
I agree with Portland, and not just because I live here. Like there, even now, their choices in the airport are pretty top notch.
I wish I could remember the name of that place, but once you go through TSA, it was just straight down the hall heading toward Americans' gates. But right before their gates, there was a sandwich shop on the left, as I recall. Oh my gosh, my mouth still waters when I think about that.
Awesome. Thank you so much for joining us today. I appreciate what you guys do. I love this profession. To be honest, my mom was actually a geriatric nurse, so
Oh wow.
I remember, roaming the halls of the nursing home when I was a little girl. So I've always been kind of comfortable in hospital spaces. So,
Yeah, and that was my mother. She loved the geriatric population, and it takes a
mhm,
gift to do that.
mhm,
And it wasn't for me, but it was for her.
yeah,
Um,
yeah. So thank you.
thank you, thank you.